Hello and welcome back. Today we are playing our Panama run, where we are looking to build a trade/diplomatic empire, zero wars, zero expansion, and that's why our map doesn't matter, and our GDP doesn't matter. And the reason our GDP doesn't matter, in fact, we actually want to get it as low as possible, is because we are doing a bunch of overseas ownership. For our GDP, 5,500% of that is what we own overseas equivalent. So we effectively have 35 million worth of GDP ownership, just most of it is not in our own nation. This is a particularly interesting inflection point because our reinvestment from the stuff that we own is being multiplied by very nearly 3. This is a modifier that starts at 3 at 0 GDP and scales down to 1 linearly at 50 million GDP, and so we should be getting a very, very significantly less portion of this if it were taken into account our actual ownership of GDP, but it's not. It's only taking into account our personal GDP, and so as a consequence, we get to own a whole bunch of stuff. We are facilitating this with a bunch of agreements from various countries, giving us investment rights and also giving us free money. You know what they say, if it's free, it's for me. If we take a look at our company, we can see where a lot of this ownership is. Although this is just our company ownership, it doesn't include our financial districts. And in particular, the investment rights that we have given out to this company gives us a particularly strong advantage in that a company HQ can be forming in the companies with which we have investment rights. And once we have that, this company HQ will actually use their investment pool to make investments, which is why we have some French buildings that are not there and some French buildings that are in the regional company HQ. This will be spat out and we will get reinvestment from regional HQs in these buildings, and so it is getting shipped back to us, but this is reinvesting using the money from other people's countries. So you can see here we have 5 buildings and then maybe an additional 6 or 7. Those 6 or 7 have been purchased, or the construction required to build them, the construction goods has been purchased with French investment pool and also with Ottoman investment pool in terms of what we're getting. We have investment rights in Austria the USA as well, so things are coming along quite nicely. Now, we do have a very significant issue. Excluding the 1,100 pops that we have, or 1,113 pops that we have in a colony that we are going to eventually give over to one of our companies, if we exclude that, we only have 170k pop, and we are at a point where we are basically running out of pop. So the way that we're going to try and handle this is through slavery. We are going to invite a good old slaver, and then we are going to reform the government. We're going to put in the rural folk, and then we are going to promote the slaver to government. That way, no, we can't give this. He has to become pressured. Interest group has to be pressured by the movement of the agitator. All right, fair enough. Well, we have to see what exactly movement this guy is going to agitate for. And once we do that, he's going to support the peasant movement. Surely the peasant movement will pressure the peasants. So we will probably try and bolster this movement. And then once it's fully bolstered, we will promote this gentleman to government. Since he is a slaver and he endorses slave trade, he will allow us to move up onto slave trade. If we take a look at our laws, with legacy slavery, we have no one supporting it, but we can try and get up onto it if we can get him into government. So this is going to be the plan, and then once we do that, we'll move an interest back to the Congo, because I think you need an interest to purchase slaves. I really don't know that great a detail, because normally you don't really pass slavery, but once we have that interest there, we will be able to import some pops and get some stuff going on, and then eventually we will free them, but we will just have more pops. We currently have just 6 prestige. When we get more prestige and can actually get a decent amount of immigration, that's probably when we want to get off of slavery. The entire point is to gain pops, but right now we can't really gain much from migration, despite us having, 17.5 SOL, because a majority of our pops are ownership pops. Or not a majority, but like 10%. Hey, we develop precision tools, which is going to be nice. We now have the prestige good of precision tools we will be outputting. Now, we don't have enough pops to really operate our tooling workshops, but I do believe our overseas ownership that we have of these will now be shifted on over to producing premium tools as well. So we have this one in Picardy. We are learning this on the spot, and we do see the ownership that is apportioned to us, I believe, is the one that is producing these precision tools. We can see that the smaller portion of ownership, we own 2, to the Panama Metal Works of Burgundy, which owns 3, and roughly that ratio we are getting produced in precision tools, which are going to give more throughput on things that use them as input goods, which incidentally on tools, that's a lot of things. So you can see here, we have some of this tools as inputs for us, and so we are scaling up extra throughput on our coal. Tools is an input on virtually everything. Let's see if it also applies to the loudest car outside. We're going to kick that over there, and it also applies to some of these labor-saving PMs. So if we could get prestige coal, that would be fantastic, because coal is one of those that also gets used in a ton of different spots. Same with transportation, but that's not exactly what we're on about. We are also going to be happy that we are getting a little bit of throughput, perhaps, on the prestige goods, or the UI is just lying to us. We see 0% from 3 prestige good inputs. Maybe we just need more other goods, or we see that we're actually not inputting that many prestige tools. Although we are getting some prestige fabric, I do believe that this is coming from the Ottoman Empire, but not 100% sure. We can see that it is produced by some trade centers that are importing it, some livestock ranches that are somewhere, and some subsistence farms. Where are these at? Not sure exactly where they're... Oh, they're in Panama. Someone else is producing this, though. That's not us who is producing this nice sort of premium fabric. So it appears that we can take a die roll on being able to get investment rights from Great Britain, and if we offer them an obligation, this will just be a good old 100%er. We could even try and get some other things that we are maybe interested in, like a bit of extra gold on top of this. I do believe it scales with their income, and they have quite a bit of income, and so we could throw something like this, a 40% chance, we get investment rights, they get trade privileges, we get trade privileges, 1K gets transferred, and the reason why is they really value these privileges because of trade that is occurring between our markets. Monetary value of mutual trade is particularly high, so we would maybe want to renegotiate something like this, but investment rights, that's going to be spectacular, because that trickles down to all of their subjects as well, whom we would really like investment rights in. We will keep on trying over and over once the cooldown has been achieved, but that, I didn't even realize that that would be in the realm of possibility. The fact that we can get that is turbo insane. We'll be building in the EIC pretty soon here, I suppose. So because they care about volume of trade, we've decided to start subsidizing our trade center just to make sure that we're doing as much volume of trade as possible, so that we can try and trade with, get these agreements with these other nations. We lost our agreement with France, but we want to get the maximum amount from trade privilege as we can, and we can see we are capped out here at plus 40. We're looking to get investment rights, we're looking to maybe give an obligation, and we are looking to maybe get a little bit of money. Now, we would have a decent chance of getting this if we didn't go for the money, but we're greedy, which is why we're playing like this, and so we are going to peel off 30% chance here, and we're just going to keep on doing this, but we are... okay. We managed to get a great deal for everyone involved with Spain. We give them trade privileges, we take trade privileges, we take investment rights, and we take 2k ducats a week, which is going to really bolster kind of this little block of 8k income, where 6k of it is Diplopacts. This is the income we have that can cover stuff other than construction goods. The investment pool can cover construction goods, and man, oh man, that thing is growing out of control. So what our plan is we're going to add a couple construction sectors, and then we're going to let, Jesus take the whale. And by Jesus, I of course mean the investment pool. And we're going to not actively really construct very many things, as we just look to drain out the investment pool as quick as possible and look to get as much overseas ownership as possible. We also have a regional company HQ now in Bohemia and also in Pennsylvania that is picking up quite a bit of buildings using not our investment pool, but their investment pool. We maybe should have made an effort to get off of censorship earlier, because because a lot of our technology gain is actually just from tech spread, because we don't have that many universities. Rights of assembly will get us a little bit better. Currently, from censorship, we're getting minus 10% tech spread. If we look in terms of what's going on, we are getting, on average, a 58 in 3 different categories, so that's like 100 and something tech spread, and then our active research is going to be considerably less than that. We are getting 53. So for this tech spread, it does benefit quite a bit from our literacy, which is going to be a little bit higher because we just grabbed the education institution. We're going to max out our institutions here. Maxing out colonial affairs because we're planning on moving that over, and we want to just do that right now, and then we will be getting up to a very, very high literacy rate, courtesy of us having one single state and a decree for education, or one incorporated state. Right now we do have the one PIP colony, but we are benefiting from promote social mobility here as well. We are never going to remove this because the education access, just 25% literacy for 100 authority, very, very solid. So a little bit of some cuteness here. We have negative 52 prestige. We got the lewd literature modifier, the lewd book scandal success, scandalous, which gives us minus 50 prestige. We have barely any base prestige. For whatever reason, this just takes us down to minus 50 rather than giving us the plus 5, so we should have been plus 45. But then interestingly, it appears that the car is loud outside, and also timed modifiers are applying to our negative prestige. So the increased modifiers, or the increased time modifiers, when you have negative prestige, will decrease your prestige even further. So this good prestige event is in fact decreasing our prestige. At any rate, at some point we're going to want to get out of being insignificant so we can do stuff like get treaty ports, and the way we're going to do this is with ships. Except we still have basically no pops. And now the pops are increasingly just working in the ports, the construction sectors, the trade centers, which we are subsidizing all this. And then, of course, the ownership buildings. But the ownership buildings aren't all hired up. But I don't know if that actually like bricks them or if that's kind of okay. But yeah, we have a lot of overseas ownership. And so really tremendously weakly balanced. I suppose it doesn't really matter if there's vacancies. So we will continue to subsidize and pull pops to the things that we need, which is ports, trade centers, and construction sectors. To be fair, we kind of don't necessarily need the ports as much. We are using them for infrastructure, but it's perhaps better for us to use railways for infrastructure, at least at this point. Because we're kind of getting to the point where maybe on a per pop basis we prefer the more effective thing, and the more effective thing would in fact be railways for us to get. We don't have the tech for that though, and we're not stopping for any production tech because the economy that we own is elsewhere, and so we're just going to continue with society tech. We're going for civilizing mission so that we can eventually do the Panama Canal survey and get the Panama Company, although building enough bureaucracy to go for that is going to be extraordinarily uncomfortable. A little bit of update on this. We are at over 20,000% GDP ownership, and I do believe that this means that we are owning over 100 million GDP, or roughly 100 million GDP in total, given that our GDP is 48k, and 20,000 times that, or sorry, 20,000% of that is what we own overseas. So I do believe we have roughly 100 million owned overseas. So we get our interest back in the Congo here, basically just in time for Quinine. We won't be colonizing that quickly. You see, it's 4,000 days, but it is going to get kicked down to 400 days in order to take a little bit. And we only have to take 2 patches, it looks like, in order for us to block off the coast here, which is going to be nice. Eventually, this is not going to be ours, but is instead going to be a company subject that we are going to get here in the Panama Metalworks. And so that's what we're looking forward to. We haven't put in an additional company. The reason being is we want to do the Panama Canal Company. And so we do have to hold off a little bit because we have to wait until we get a civilizing mission and do the whole canal thing. But then we get 50k free income. Right now, the national revenue we are operating with for all that we're doing is 9k. So we're going to get, what is that, 500% more than what we're getting there. Of course, where we're really getting the buckets of ducats is reinvestment, which we're getting 200,000 in because it's, a third of that multiplied by 3 because our GDP is so low. But once we get that in, we will be getting an enormous flat amount. And then we can start to maybe throw our weight around and also build an enormous navy. So that's kind of what we have coming up here. Coming a little bit slow on the rights of assembly, and I do believe I have forgotten the requirements for, I believe, well, so here's what's going on. These guys are not starting to influence the peasants or the rural folk, and I do believe it's because you are limited to the number of movements that can interest a particular IG, and we already have 2 influencing the rural folk. I'm not 100% sure if this is the way it works, but I think that this is the way it works, and so we're kind of considering right now suppressing one of these in case that's the way it works. But of course, not sure. If so, we would suppress the positivist movement. We don't have a guy supporting the positivist movement, even the positivist, which, you know, the truth hurts. Shout out to positivism. We did it. We made it. We made our very first mass migration. Okay, so we don't really need to go slavery anymore, but that is so fantastic. We have 187 pops, but we are getting weekly mass migration from the Serbs here, which is going to be absolutely fantastic for us. We will actually be able to employ buildings, we'll actually be able to expand stuff, and we also got, a little bit of a timed modifier in the renowned playwright, formerly just the spectacular one. Now it's a time modifier. It used to be permanent, but we only have to get above 33 prestige in order to get up from being an insignificant power. Now, we still are an insignificant power, and that's kind of awkward considering we own over 150 million GDP, or percent GDP. I think this is, yeah, we're owning 160 million GDP, and we are, of course, insignificant, as one does. But look at this, 25 SOL. Let's go, baby. But this is just absolutely huge for us. Buildings are going to be able to employ, and we are going to build a navy in order to get up to the point where we can be insignificant. And I think once we're insignificant, then we can start getting the treaty ports. So this is kind of something we've been waiting for to some extent. We've been pushing SOL. Eventually it became just too much. Our migration attraction is just too high, and we pipped the mass migration despite the fact that we only have 1 state, and you get a pretty significant malice if you are under 5 states. So we're getting it. It looks like our experiment is off and away. I don't really know too well how these things work. We have the Panamania, or the Panama Metalworks, now established as a colony because France cut us off. So now we don't have to worry about anything, and it looks like they're colonizing down here as well. So we are not going to manage that anymore, and instead we're going to declare an interest and look to go for the Suez Canal, which is going to be useful for us. We will be just fine buying that from them. We said we could declare no wars. We didn't say we couldn't get any canals, and so we are going to look to do that, and because we are going to be looking to do that, we will put in the queue quite a bit of government administrations. Now, I think we'll just delete them once we're done with them. Maybe we could time this a little bit better, considering we are going civilizing mission afterwards, and we haven't yet gotten the Panama Canal. I think we're probably going to just use the exploit where we don't actually need the bureaucracy, but also us being like 1k over on bureaucracy might not matter. So we're going to put that in there, and we're going to get some construction going, and we should be, like now, after a few weeks, approaching 200k pops. Well, approaching a little bit slowly, but we are getting a significant amount of weekly migration. Maybe not that significant. We do still have a lot of migration attraction. I wonder why they slowed down. Interesting. We still have a ton of attraction. A few disappointments. We actually don't have the journal entry for the Suez Canal. I'm not sure what the requirement is to make it appear. I assume it's us being a major power plus or owning the Suez Canal, something to that extent, but we can't do that. We do have coming up populating Central America in order to get a lot of pop, but we have to get up to being a minor power, and our plan of establishing a navy, we should have thought, or we should have executed on this a little bit earlier, because I forgot it's going to take forever for us to recruit up these, and since we don't have more locations, we can't just spam a bunch of navy in a bunch of random locations. We actually have to recruit them up, so it's going to be quite some time before we get up to this 35 here, because this is going to time out. This is a timed modifier. I do believe we can get some prestige from subjects if we got this subject really big, but considering we're not declaring wars, it's going to be difficult for the Panama metalworks to kind of get things going. So I think we're going to be kind of a little bit stuck until we finish a civilizing mission here, at which point we will be able to use the journal entry to help populate us, to help us to employ up the Navy to get past the threshold where we won't be an insignificant power, an insignificant power who just owns, more than 200 million worth of GDP. Just to kind of maybe take a perusal through everything that we own. This is the company HQ in Panama, which is not fully employed, but it seems to give us the full benefit anyways, so that's quite nice. So we just subsidize everything else to make it employ. Here we have the regional HQ in the Ottoman Empire. Here's our regional HQ in France, which owns a lot of buildings. Here's it in the USA. Here's it in Austria. Here's ours in Cuba. Here it is in the UK, or Great Britain rather. Here's ours in Castile. We have one in West Bengal. We have one in Zululand. And also, just wanted to take note, we own 20 of the tooling workshop levels in Yorkshire out of the 19. That's just all us, baby. So that is quite nice. I don't even know if they're privatizing the buildings entirely. So we managed to just basically full scoop all that. And if we take a look at GDP ownership map mode, we will see that we, of course, own all the GDP in our area, but we own quite a few shades of just about everywhere else on the map. So this is truly, we are building an economy, but not at home. We have no economy at home. It's just elsewhere. So that's kind of how things are going there. I have never seen this before. This high of prices for all consumer goods, or just the overall profile of consumer goods, while simultaneously not running a shortage in any of them. We are getting all these through trade. We're not producing anything ourselves, and so we're doing little itty bits of trade in order to make these run not shortages, but the prices are absolutely huge. This is because we have a lot of upper strata. You can see 16K upper strata. That's enormous. This is really pushing up SoL, but their buy baskets are huge. Their average SoL is 63. Average SoL of middling is 36. We are just incredibly economically wealthy. However, we aren't growing in pop. We are losing pop right here. And the reason why we're losing pop is because everyone's in starvation mode in terms of food security. Everything's really expensive. And so this is making it so we didn't notice this very early, because this is not something that's normally on our radar, but this is like the upper class pops that are not experiencing starvation. Everyone else is starving. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually push subventions on these, on the imports, in order to try and make them import at a higher rate in order to resolve this starvation, because we actually would like some population growth. And this will cost us a little bit of money, but that should be okay. We should be still making money on the trade centers, and we will take a look and try and hope that these start to fall in price. We do see a little bit of movement here, so I do think the imports probably changed. I think it looks like we imported a little bit more meat, because we did get a premium meat in here. Taking a look up in here, we can see and look at how much we're making in subventions, and this kind of tracks just how much this is affecting things. You can see that we do have groceries coming in. It does look relatively profitable. I wish it was revenue per trade power, or per trade, what have you. We do see we are importing this as well. The meat, which should be bringing down the price, but man, even with the really strong subventions, this isn't as strong as we would want it to be. I think we'll do a medium subvention on this as well. We wouldn't mind the fish coming in. I think we're producing the fish, and we'll do a medium subvention on this as well, but we just need to get this in here so we stop starving to death, because that's no good. I guess once the cooldown finishes in October 27th, we will be moving this to even high subventions, just anything we can. We don't really care if we start losing money. Money's not the issue. The issue is 100% pops, and ours are dying. You can see here we're having a bit of a hard time. They didn't learn that you need to eat the rich when this happens, but we have so many wealthy pops, it's causing everyone to start starving here in Panama. And the thing that sucks is all our lower rung pops are the ones that are starving, not the wealthy, and so they are literally just eating up all the food supply, and then everyone is starving to death. So we are max subventioning all the food now, and we still have 44% of our pops experiencing severe starvation. So we do have this coming in to give us a better connection to the market in terms of us having enough pops that are giving infrastructure, because currently we went over a little bit on our infrastructure, which is kind of something that has been a common theme here. In fact, we're already going to be over it again, so we're going to kick this port to the top. We're also getting turmoil in Panama because everyone's sick of starving to death, which is a sentiment I can understand, but that 44% is down to 34% as we have started to resolve some of this infrastructure, maybe, or it is pulling the pops from what is happening. Hopefully is we actually really want to pull the pops from here and or prevent them from getting upgraded. I think that they won't leave, but they won't join necessarily if we have these subsidies on. They'll prefer to go for these subsidy guys first. And here's another issue we're having. We can't fix the infrastructure problem because people are too busy starving to death to work. So this might actually be a way that we could actually death spiral and brick the run, is by getting too rich, and then our rich pops eat everyone else. That is what it looks like is going on right now. I don't think that this will happen. I think that we will recover out of this, especially once we hit civilizing mission. But this is certainly a very, very curious sort of situation. This obviously would not have been possible, I don't think, on previous versions of the game. Maybe it would be. No, it wouldn't be, because you would just resolve stuff through trade. But now you can't control where the trade is going. And so this is leading to some problems for us. You can see here all the local prices of almost everything just completely maxed out, and they're mostly consumer goods that are flowing in. So we really need to get that resolved and really need to start getting more trade centers in. And that's what we're doing. We're going to actually kick these naval bases to the back. We do want to get some more of that going on, because we have 7 prestige, my guys. And one of that is from Navy Power Projection. And this is the only really good way for us to get prestige, unless we can somehow become the #1 producer of anything, which looks unlikely. I mean, maybe Merchant Marine or something like that. But the way things are going, also, generally speaking, other countries seem to be developing GDP as well. I don't know if that's because we have our fingers on some scales and are actually encouraging the construction of a lot of buildings. I think that this might have something to do with it, but GDPs look relatively large just in general. We have ownership of an enormous amount. And when we're looking through here, it's important to emphasize this is only our company. Just the UI for this looks pretty nice. If we come through the building registry, we can, filter by buildings that we don't own or are located abroad, and we'll be able to see literally all the stuff that is owned abroad, which includes... This isn't updated, is it? This is updated? Wow, that's crazy. We only own the company stuff? That's wild as hell. Our capitalists can buy other stuff. Our other capitalists can buy stuff. That is insane. Is this just not updating? Or is that actually just it? We haven't looked at this in forever. Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy as hell. Always awkward when the US claims Panama now, isn't it? We deleted a couple of buildings. Let's see how they look with us in terms of they're cooperative. Let's make sure we have good relations. We don't want to get ganked by them, although they might start expelling diplomats and this type of thing. We deleted our government administrations and our universities. Not getting the tax is kind of whatever, because we're not really making money through taxes anyways, like whatsoever. And so that's fine with us, but this is allowing us to get the trade centers up and employing so that we can try and import the goods that we are subventioning to decrease the price of, this stuff here. And we can see that we're pulling down the prices of food a little bit, running a subvention. We are paying 4K into this trade center so that it trades other things. So this is an interesting kind of phenomena we've reached, is we can't control the trade, and we're trying to make the food stuffs the most profitable trades, but even with the maximum subvention, we can't make it the most profitable trade. And so they are choosing to trade other stuff because so much stuff is expensive, specifically luxury goods. So maybe we actually want to ban the trade of luxury goods in some sort of way. I think that we could offer this up as a treaty article, And if we do that, we can maybe get stuff to operate in a little bit of a different way. Prohibit trade with the world market. If we prohibited trade of, let's say, luxury clothes here, this would allow us to rake back a lot of our capacity. I don't think we're going to be exporting luxury clothes or anything like that anytime soon. And if we go for something, we'll probably go for furniture / the other stuff. So why don't we actually just take a look at what is going to... What's the largest amount? Can we not sort by that? Okay, so we can't sort, but we do see a lot of luxury furnitures coming in. A lot of wood. Yikes, it's already a lot of food. I'm not sure banning the luxury furniture will necessarily be that good, but luxury furniture, we don't have a treaty with Russia yet, so maybe we look to offer Russia the banning of luxury furniture in exchange for us getting investment rights on Russia, which we don't have. Okay, we couldn't get the agreement with Russia, but we've managed to get out of severe starvation, so hopefully, yeah, our pop growth is now positive again. Okay, and we're starting to get things back in better shape after adding a bunch of trade ports and also trade centers. We need the ports for the infrastructure because we don't have railways yet. This is like the latest we've ever gone without getting railways, I think ever. And then we need the trade centers, obviously, to get some of these trades done. In terms of the subventions that we are having to pay to prevent all our pups from starving to death, we're having to pay 4.5k a week, but this doesn't all disappear. The margin by which this makes the food trade routes more profitable than the other ones is effectively recirculated into our economy. There's some other, like, injection effects that we have to, like, take a look at. I think subventions might be good, but they're probably just not very good. But this will allow us to prevent us from starving to death, so that's going to be really nice. We don't have good access anymore. We're going to have to build another port, but or no, we're just going to have to get this port to actually employ up and or fix this shortage. We have a shipyard. It's not anywhere near fully employed because it's got zero employment, because that's the soup we're swimming in. Stuff does not get employed here. No. Except for the coffee thing, which I have no idea why this is always just kind of perma-staying. Oh, it's because it's slaves. Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. That tracks. So we resolved the food problem, but still an interesting tension / situation where we were kind of death spiraling there, because if we didn't get the trade in time, we actually just would have death spiraled and everyone would have died, which is crazy. Incidentally, if you want to get rid of all your pops, maybe that's the way you do it now. Yeah, absolutely amazing. We get civilizing mission. With the psychiatry getting unlocked, it just pips because we now only have one required. I think that we're going to go steel frame building because we are definitely throttled by the number of pops we can do and like the number of construction sectors we can build. So getting better PMs on those is going to be useful for us. Look at this. This is insane. We only have half employment. We just don't have any pops. We have like 0 pops. But now we should be able to do... Where's our journal entry, my guys? Establish populating Central America. There we go. That will come in as a... Oh, no, wait. We can't do it yet. We have to be minor power or above. No. This is actually just so challenging because we don't have a very good way to build boats. Now we could... We're colonizing, and we're colonizing for the purposes of our subject, and we could just build a bunch of boats over there, but that kind of feels like cheating, so we're not going to do that. We could just build a bunch of boats here. We're not going to do that. We will try and figure out some other way to upscale our prestige. I mean, we could go for number one producer of... we could go for number one producer of fine art. I'm not sure who it is right now, but that would be a way that we could generate a lot of prestige. Well, the USB meddling, they want us to give up the Panama Canal. We, of course, will say no. We want to survey that ourselves. The problem is we need around 13,000 employees to survey it. And we are just absolutely monumentally squeezed in an unambiguous way in the amount of pops we have. We are subsidizing a bunch of places that can't deploy up all the way. We have government buildings that can't deploy up all the way. And we're trying to get this arts academy to pop off. all the way. So we are now the number 3 producer in the world, because generally speaking, fine art doesn't get produced a lot, but we want to be the number 1. I can't remember exactly how much it gives. I think it gives like 30 or 40 or something like this. But this combined with building a navy can maybe get us up to the point where we can start getting the migrants. But it's important to note that all these challenges, these just like don't appear if we just join Great Britain's bloc and we just start getting a bunch of migration and then we just like leave the bloc later or whatever. We're not going to solve it in this way. We just like want to point out that there's ways to get pops, but us staying independent creates interesting sorts of situations. But if we join their power block, since they have a unified market, this allows inter-market migration, and if we have inter-market migration with, this level of migration attraction, we're going to pull some pops. We're going to pull some significant pops. Also, once we get significant, we're no longer insignificant. We probably get more of those mass migrations. We only got about 7k Serbian pops, and by now, a lot of them are probably converted to the point where, it's not even... Ooh, are South Indians coming in? I'm not sure that they were there before. Oh, did we get a mass migration we didn't even notice? The South Indians helping us out. Where are the South Indians coming from? Oh, that's so good for us. I don't know exactly... Well, okay. I mean, that works, I guess. We have really high SoL, and our pops aren't starving to death anymore, and so this is going to drive more pops into our nation. We can see that it's at -23, so they've been here for 3 years. I guess we just didn't notice the mass migration, but now we get another one. We're going to get some several thousand weekly migration, which is actually kind of going to solve our problem for the most part. So maybe we can go ahead and actually go for some of these so that we can build the Panama Canal, some of these gov administrations, because we weren't completing these because we were just like, oh, well, we're not employing up anyways. Yeah, we're going to go for this. And all of this is just very uncomfortable in terms of how things are going. Are we the number 2 producer yet? No, we're not. We will have to build another level. Not like this. This isn't what we wanted. We're also going to need some paper. Property of women is also one that's going to be good for us. Revoke the trade privileges, kick rocks, dog. So we are going to empty, yeah. We'll take some loyalists, but this is going to help us out a lot as well. The base rate for workforce ratio is 25%, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and so this will effectively allow 20% more of our pops to work. It does operate on an equilibrium, though, so it won't happen right away, but it'll trend up, and incidentally, that'll really kick up SoL by quite a lot. We could also... I guess we're maybe sleeping on trying to demarginalize the, the trade unionists by going a different system. I think that, or actually even using an agitator. They're 4.6 right now, so they actually would get demarginalized pretty easily. So why don't we take a look here in terms of who we can invite that is an agitator that is interested in stuff. We see that we can invite this gentleman who is, we want compulsory primary school. I'm not sure we want universal suffrage, which this guy is going to push for. We already have guaranteed libs in public schools though, so maybe he's kind of okay. But this guy actually wants something that we want, so we're going to invite him, and I think that that might push the clout of these guys up high enough that they get, if we take a Monday here, someone's got a case on the Mondays. Oh, maybe, is that guy not popular? We should have just recruited the most popular guy. He is loved. He's got expensive tastes. Why is that not pushing up? Why is that not pushing this up? Did it push it up and we just didn't notice? Could have sworn it was 4.7. There we go. There we go. Now, it's not the manufacturing industry's throughput that we want. It's the solidarity for the workforce ratio. So we probably just passed something that these guys like after this. And, okay, we just get the workforce ratio there because we're so handsome. So we will be able to slot these guys in or just pass something that they like. Let's take a look at what we could do. But this is actually pretty nice here. This they will like, and that will get us approval on them. We don't really mind running that. Just kind of having a quick look if there's something that we specifically want to pass. We actually do want to get on prop tax, but that's not really that pressing because we're not really taxing pops. In fact, we maybe want to go to no taxation. That might even be better. So why don't we put in the poor laws here, and that'll serve us well enough. And these guys just have to stay above 4%. And now we get an additional 5% workforce ratio. So we've just gone from 25% workforce ratio to 35% in our allowed car outside, but also more importantly in our equilibrium. So it'll take a while, but eventually we will get up to 35% workforce ratio. So that's going to help us. It's going to help solve our problems here. We are also getting this up and coming. Did we get... Okay, we do have the next tier of being the leading goods producer. We are the number 2 producer of fine art. So maybe third time's the charm, third fine art's the charm, and will get us to the point where we can start using the action to start pulling in pops. Well, we do have to set up a steel import. I like the way that this journal entry is changed. It requires a subvention, and then it requires steel come to a certain price point. So I do think that's pretty cool. Let's take a look. I'm sure we're importing it right now because we don't produce anything. We don't produce steel, certainly. And so what we can do is we can come in here and we can find the steel. Oh, just kidding. That's a yikes. Okay, so that's why. We're running a shortage. Well, we're actually not using a lot of steel at this juncture, but we're running a shortage of it. But we could subvention it a little bit here. I don't know if we'll need a big subvention. We'll just start out small, and we'll look to increase it. But this requires us to do a subvention and then get the price low. So I think this is so much better than the other one where you would just put in a trade route and then cancel the trade route. So I really like the way this has been updated. All right. We are flying too close to the sun here. Our GDPs come up a lot. That's entirely by fine art. And the fine art, we just like, this subsidy is just too big to eat. It's 17K. And not only that, it's pulling a bunch of pops. Every level is 5K. It's pulling so many pops off of being able to do other stuff. We're just going to stop this subsidy, but I think that we're also just kind of death spiraling either way. So we're going to pull off of this subsidy to get things started. I think that we actually do want another arts academy. We just want to be able to add in the subsidy. And then we're going to add a couple of trade centers. We are going to also start actually taxing our pops. We are currently paying super high government wages. That's not too big a deal. We can keep that in, but we're going to start taxing the luxury stuff. The fine art is going to really absolutely tank in supply, so we don't need to tax that. But we're going to put in some taxes on stuff. I do think we can lower government wages. Does it make a big difference? Not a super big difference, and we do kind of like the Intelligentsia and Petite Bourgeoisie approval. That's not really a very big expense for us, so we get things coming down, and we get... Huh, what's this? Are we a minor power? Bro, how did we get that? We were just raking everything back. What happened here? The requirement decreased? Well, okay. It was 40, so we can get coming to America, migration attraction. We are definitely not doing fine on our own, so we will do that. Jeez, that's so lucky. We were like, just like, oh no, we're getting wrecked. But here now we can promote European migration, which is going to decrease some authority and influence, but it is going to trigger a mass migration, silver linings, and etc. We get some pops migrating to our nation, in some South Italians, and this is solving very much the big problem, and I think it just adds 100k. Let's take a look at what our pops look like. I don't see... Okay, there's the South Italian, so that's 40... Oh, wait. That's 7.8k, but we have 4k incoming. We're over 30 SoLs, so that's going to be nice for us. And so we managed to somehow get into... Yeah, but now we're going to dip because our prestige is down to 11. It has to get above 37. And we were only at 35. So that's actually incredibly lucky. So while we are in this spot, we are going to move around our interests and try and figure out if we can... Hey, we got a ton of interests. We don't have to shuffle around one interest anymore. We are going to try and see if we can get some treaty ports in some places. That way we can make use of the treaty port and also the pop located in the treaty port. This is something in terms of something we were looking forward to, and one of the reasons why we were pushing so hard for this. Did we also get steel frame building unlocked? Or we're already on it. Okay, sounds good. So looking around a bit, it does look like it's actually very difficult for us to get a treaty port on anyone diplomatically. We could try and get an alliance, or the more straightforward way would be to get an alliance and then to shake them down. But I think that this will be another added challenge. Look at this. They only own 80% of the 88% of their GDP. That's absolutely incredible. I'm assuming that we own the other kind of main percentage. Yeah, we own over 10% of the GDP of Great Britain. But we are in a little bit of a bind here, and I think that we're going to see some stuff unravel a little bit in that we're going to see what happens if we unsubsidize the trade center. I think it's just going to collapse in terms of what's going on, and we will get to watch this together because I don't think that we can necessarily afford this. We want to hit some sort of equilibrium, but we're currently just losing a ton to subsidies. The problem is, well, I guess we could just like tax more, but the problem is this is like the basis of like most of what's going on. So hopefully this doesn't fire. Jesus. I was going to say, hopefully this doesn't fire down too aggressively, massively decreases our trade capacity. It is going to make these things more profitable, like, per level, but now the question is where are these pops going to go? We have virtually none unemployed, so they've gone somewhere else. They've gotten hired somewhere else, and maybe this place is a little better wherever they've gotten hired. They're not in there. Oh, no. Not the ownership buildings. This is bad, this is bad, this is bad. They've gotten... Of course they went to the ownership buildings. I mean, eventually we have to stop subsidizing and allow the ownership buildings to employ up, but now we have a bunch of really rich pops. And those really rich pops, they're gonna start eating more food, aren't they? God damn it. No! Jesus. How to make your nation starve to death. There's like we're getting killed by ownership pops, basically. I think we have to put this subsidy back on, but the problem is it won't pull pops from the ownership buildings. I think we're actually just dead. We might be dead. Jeez, that's actually incredible. That's hilarious. Yeah, everyone's like an ownership pop. I mean, I guess they're gonna pay more taxes, right? Each individual ownership pop is maybe gonna pay more taxes, maybe? Bueller? I mean, I think we might be dead. We're gonna rake back as much authority as we can and try and consumption tax. Nature is healing a little bit as this is starting to actually gain some amount of employment. Not an enormous amount. I wonder where it's pulling them from because we don't like have available pop. Oh, I guess some peasants got made? Okay, well, if this gets up to a reasonable level of employment, we should be in okay shape, but right now, we are very, very close to defaulting. Incidentally, we have a huge credit line courtesy of not our GDP, that's for sure, but us having a lot of ownership in other areas. But, okay, our trade capacity is recovering. The thing is like, we have this really unfortunate tension in that we can't stop subsidizing this, because if we stop subsidizing this, we will lose the infrastructure. And unfortunately, we are running a shortage of the clippers. Why don't we actually subvention this on low subventions and see if that will make the trade center prioritize clippers just a little bit more. But we're currently not getting the boats required to make this work, and we have about 10 months before we default. So we don't have time to finish this. The idea here is that we want to like switch to a railroad to be the thing we subsidize, and then not need to subsidize the port. I think because the port is just too many levels. We could just drop it, but then our trade will stop, and I'm not sure where all these pops will end up. And currently, they are providing us with infrastructure. I don't know how severe this is or the shortage is. I mean, we could just pause construction, which will give us a lot more time, because we'll only be losing 5k. We also do have a little bit more stuff we can pull back, but we really want to... Okay, we can drop road maintenance, actually. This is fine. And so once we drop road maintenance here, we will have a little bit left to add in another consumption tax. We'll tax coffee, and then we will be barely losing anything. I think our credit line's increasing faster than this deficit, so eventually we will be able to get stuff done, especially if we actually start running positive money. And we'll probably try and look for some agreements to get some money from some GPs or something like this to help pull us out of this weird kind of situation, and also just hope that this continues to employ up. Oh my god, it's continuing to employ up. Thank god. I thought we killed ourselves. I mean, I thought we unalived our run. Yeah, okay, so we do have more peasants. That's so crazy that they will get pulled off of... I didn't really think that they would get pulled off of this. Wait, where are these pops coming from? Because these are actually employed up way higher. Do we just have way more pops? We just have way more pops. Saved by the bell. Was saved by the Italians, actually. There's 100,000 Italians. More. Wow. Okay, they saved our nation. Thank you, Giuseppe. Big nice. Alright, we're in a bit of a rough spot. See, we defaulted despite running a positive balance, and the reason we defaulted is that our line of credit decreased. And part of this, I think, is the global economy, as a result of us not doing as much stuff, might have collapsed a little bit, and where we are getting our money from, or where we get our line of credit from, is the reserves, the cash reserves of the buildings that we own. We can see here, we own 8 of these. And so when the cash reserves overseas decrease, this hurts our line of credit. And so that's what's happened. But now, with us running minus 10% throughput, this is just going to get out of control really quickly. And a lot of the tools you normally have with which to deal with the debt, we don't really have. Because we have 50,000 GDP. So even if we doubled our GDP, this would only increase our line of credit by 25,000. So what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and do a treaty with France for them to take on our debt. And it looks like it just caps out, and then they don't really care about it too much. We've tried to offer as much as we can. If we offer an additional "we won't trade this good," it doesn't do anything for us. If we just add this in here as well, it's still minus 15, or sorry, plus 15. And I don't think... Oh, I guess we can offer some more stuff. We'll agree not to colonize North Africa. Wow, fantastic. We weren't going to colonize North Africa anyways. In fact, I don't even think we can colonize North Africa. I think he has it cut off. So we will let France take on our debt. A little bit of a Deus Ex Machina that... on release, or by release, this might even be nerfed. We are on the pre-release build, but this is kind of nuts, and makes things a little bit easier for us. A little bit of a Deus Ex Machina, a little bit of a save us. Thank you so very much. The Colon Agreement entered into force. It certainly was entered with force, that's true. Shout out to France. I think we're going to look to wrap up this episode here. We have, 58,000 times 52,000%. We have a little over 30 million worth of GDP owned. Now, this puts us in a spot where we're not just like, way bigger than everyone else. But we have to keep in mind that a lot of these guys, we own their GDP. Like Great Britain, we own like 15% of their GDP. So... and we do this for a lot of the GPs. We are gaining, just for a frame of reference, so much investment pool that we just can't possibly spend it. At this point, we effectively just have an infinite investment pool because we're reinvesting 226k. We can only make use of 60k. We're probably going to add a whole bunch of construction. Maybe we can get into it next episode. But this episode has just been absolutely wild and all over the place. There's been ups and downs. There's been people starving to death. There's just been a lot of interesting stuff going on with people starving to death. We had like super high SoL pops that were starving to death because the rich pops were demanding so much. They were just so opulent and gluttonous that they just hoovered up all the value, and everyone started starving to death, which was fantastic. And then, okay, it's maybe not fantastic that we could just get France to take on our debt, but we were just hard collapsing, running out of pops, and then everyone was dying. When we turned on the button, or when we turned off the subsidy, which would allow, effectively allowed the ownership buildings to start hoovering up all of our workforce. That was probably something that should have killed us, but we got saved by all the Italians coming in, which is just a very fascinating thing we have to come into here. But this was at like no employment because our subsidies was preventing it from getting employed. But yeah, if we take a look at our pops, we just like at the last minute gain a bunch of pops, and this allowed us to tolerate the issue that we were having. Or maybe the high SoL pushed the migration really hard by the virtue of them going to the ownership. That's a curious and interesting possibility, because we have 200 migration attraction, and so maybe the ownership, maybe we should have just been allowing the ownership pops to pick up, or the buildings to pick up the ownership pops this whole time. It's pretty crazy that we have more Italians now in Panama than we do Central Americans, which is our primary culture. But yeah, there's just been a lot going on that have been very, very fascinating. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I certainly did. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, do the YouTube algorithm thing. And other than that, have a good one.